What's up, my friend? Abby here, and welcome back to Ask Abby, where I answer your writing questions and help you make your story matter. I usually start off with a writing update, but I'm not going to do that this time because last week I made a whole writing vlog talking about behind the scenes, what's going on in my life, in my writing life, in my author publishing life, and that was a fun video to make. It was kind of experimental. I tried some new editing style, and I really like how it came out. So if you haven't seen that vlog, check that out right here. And that's my recent writing update. I am working on editing a first draft. I'm also working on writing a co-write project with my sister at the moment. And I am writing something else that is kind of just for fun, spontaneous writing project that I don't know where it's taking me, but it's been interesting. So yeah, if you want to see a more in-depth look at all of that, check out that vlog that I posted last week and comment below and tell me, what are you working on at the moment? What are you writing or editing or working towards publishing? I would love to hear all about it. Let's get to the questions because a ton of great questions came in this past month and I'm excited to answer them. So roll that intro and let's get started.
Why does your story matter? Good question. What if I told you that there's a science behind every great story? I don't just teach you how to write. I teach you how to change the world with your story and make your author dreams come true.
In case you're new around here and you're not sure how this works, here's the deal. You ask me questions and I show up here every month on YouTube to answer those questions. And there are two ways to submit questions to the show. The first way is to hit the join button below this video, get yourself inside the YouTube community, and post a question on the community tab as a comment in the Ask Abby post. The second way to submit questions is to go to patreon.com/AbbieEmmons, get yourself inside the inner circle group there, and post your question in the group. Just make sure you hashtag Ask Abby so that I see it. Okay, first question is from Nicole. Hello, my problem is I'm only good at writing dialogue. When I get feedback, my dialogue is always praised while all the before and in-betweens are respectfully and caringly critiqued. I can see the scenes in my head, but the only thing I can get down is the dialogue. I just can't seem to describe the visuals and action I see going on in my head. When I try, my sentence structure is repetitive and boring, just noun, verb, object over and over, or I'll try to spice it up and it will end up sounding either ridiculous or pretentious. I have notebooks and manuscripts chock full of dialogue with no descriptions or actions. I'm even having trouble describing my question, but I'll try. How do you describe the action without sounding repetitive or like you're trying too hard? How do you come up with new ways of saying things? What would you suggest for someone who struggles putting what they see into words? Okay, first things first, have you ever tried screenwriting? Because you sound like a screenwriter at heart. Like, that's just what jumped out to me when I was reading your comment, that you love writing dialogue, but you kind of don't like, it seems like you don't get a lot of joy out of writing the in-between stuff. Maybe I'm just like guessing here, but it sounds like you would love screenwriting because screenwriting mostly focuses on the dialogue. Now, no writing has to be technically perfect, of course, but with screenwriting, you have the freedom to be a little bit, like take the pressure off as far as with action and narration, because you really don't have narration. You have mostly just dialogue and some action in between to set up scenes. Just a thought, just something you might want to try out. I think you might love it. Otherwise, my advice here would be to make it fun. Make it your thing. Don't worry about being technically perfect or having some really impressive sentence structure or prose. I actually made a video kind of recently about how you should stop writing pretty prose and stop trying to impress other people with your writing and how to really lock into your own writing style. That is definitely a video that everyone should watch. A rule of thumb that I always use is this. If I'm bored writing it, my reader will probably be bored reading it. Most of the time, that is true.
Except for the days where you're tired and you're kind of down on yourself, and really what you're writing is great, but you don't think it is because you're tired and in a negative headspace, and it ends up being okay.
Like, I'm disregarding that. If what you're writing is truly boring, it is truly boring you, it will probably bore your reader. So what if you could just forget the rules and have fun with it? What if you could just be as crazy and creative as you wanted to be? You want to make your reader feel something. So how can you describe it in a way that will engage their brain? Show me how it feels. And that doesn't always mean it's gonna be technically perfect. It will be gritty and raw and emotional. And it should be, because that's what your reader's gonna remember. That's part one of my advice. Part two of my advice is that it really is not your writing voice or your writing style. It is the character's voice. And this really changed the game for me as a writer. I stopped looking at my writing style or my voice as my voice and started looking at it as the character's voice, which means it will change with every book, with every point of view, actually, that I write. When I feel bored with what I'm writing, the narration usually, most of the time it is because I have not locked into that character's voice. And once I do, it becomes so much fun, because suddenly you're not writing from your perspective. You are looking at the world as your character sees it, and you're writing their thoughts and their interactions with the world from their voice, their point of view, their perspective. Even if you're writing in third person, okay? This doesn't apply just to first person, although I only write in first person usually. But once you sink into your character's voice, it becomes so much more fun, because it's no longer you trying to come up with a way to say this, it's your character perceiving it. And it feels so much more natural because you're just thinking and speaking and creating through your character. Next question is from Catherine. Abbie, I'm confused about want, need, plot goal. I think want is the same as plot goal, but I'm not sure. I need to know the difference and what they are attached to and how. I think need is the one attached to the inner conflict and theme, but I'm not sure. Okay. Specifically, at the moment, my MC starts the story required to do something she would never choose if she had a choice. She wants the freedom to go home and live her life as she'd see fit, but in her circumstances, she believes she literally cannot do that. So it's how she feels, but it's no kind of goal or drive in her life. It's a dead dream, so to speak. After that, she wants to go forth and do her duty in the greatest success and semblance of freedom she can. At least she won't be supervised night and day. As she goes forth on that journey, she gains tools that enable her to actually live that life she wished for in a way that is even better than what it would have been, but she has no idea that's coming. So how do I find and use her want, need, story goal in the first act to move her and the reader into the good stuff? Okay, wow. This is a really complex question and a complex answer, so I will try to nutshell it. Want versus need are two terms that you will see a lot in the writing world and story development. And basically you can think of them like this. The want is the thing that your character thinks will make them happy based on their beliefs. And the need is the thing that will actually make your character happy. Little do they know it. Or you can also think of that as the lesson that they need to learn, which is connected to the story's theme. So actually both the want and the need are connected to your character's internal conflict. The only difference here is that your character knows about the former, they do not know about the latter. So they know about their want, they know what they want, they have a goal that they are pursuing, that is the story goal or the plot goal that they are pursuing, because they think that will make them happy, but that's not actually true. It's not actually what's going to make them happy, because they have yet to learn the lesson that is their need. That's basically what the story is about, right? That's what their character arc is about. They are going on a journey to discover the truth. They are going to discover what their need truly is, and that is the thing that is ultimately going to make them happy. It might be totally different than what they thought would make them happy, and that is the journey they're going to go on. Like we always talk about with the 3-act story structure, they are going to be led to an aha moment, and that aha moment is when they discover their need, or they learn the lesson that they've needed to learn this whole time. They crush the lie that they've been believing, their fatal flaw. So all of these terms there's a lot of terms to describe the same thing. A lot of times in the writing world, we use a bunch of terms and we're all talking about the same thing. I actually recently watched a very, very good video essay on want versus need, and it was done by Michael from Lessons from the Screenplay, which is an awesome YouTube channel if you're into any of like this story analyzation, which I know you guys are. He makes awesome video essays dissecting different parts of screenplays and learning from them. Definitely check out his channel if you haven't seen it already. I will link it in the description box below this video. But he did a video on want versus need using a Pixar movie as an example, which was fabulous and in keeping with our last Science of Story video. So definitely check that out if you want to dig more into this topic. It's an excellent explanation of this storytelling principle. Next questions are actually two very similar questions that I decided to answer them both at the same time. First one's from Light Chaser Studio. Hey Abby, I have a question for you about branding as an author. I'm an author and illustrator, and I've been thinking about what is the best way to brand myself: name, social handles, website, domain, shop, etc. Should I use my own name, my pen name, leave my writing and illustration totally separate? Help, lol, there are too many options and I'd love your input. And then a very similar question came in from Annette. I'm wondering if you could talk about pen names. I ran into an issue regarding writing in two separate genres. My name is Annette Varga. It doesn't seem too romancy or fantasy-like, so I was contemplating using a pen name for those novels and then using Annette Varga for my thriller novels. What is your opinion on using pen names? It really depends on your situation. For me personally, I decided early on not to use a pen name because I wanted to use my real name. All my life I dreamed of seeing my real name on a book, so there was that aspect to it. Maybe that's kind of shallow. But oh well, that's what I ended up doing, and I decided that if I'm going to have my name on my books, I want the same name to be my branding on my YouTube channel. I want it to be everywhere. I want to be, anytime you type in my name, you find all my stuff. I wanted to keep my branding very concise and clear and personal. But I know that's not everyone's goal. So it really depends on what your goals are for your brand going forward. But if you like the idea of using a pen name, you want to protect your identity, or just for another reason you prefer the way a pen name sounds or looks on your book, my advice for that would be to choose one and stick with it, because that's how you're going to amass the largest fan base. Every author that I've ever seen using two different pen names, branding two different genres very separately from each other, they divide their audience, they divide their fan base, and as a result, they don't amass as big of a following. So the downside here is that you end up dividing your audience into like two separate groups, and one group might not even know about your other books. However, sometimes it is smart to do this if you write for two polar opposite audiences. And by that I mean like children's books and erotica. Okay, you probably want two different pen names for those respectively. But if you're writing for pretty much the same age bracket, but like different moods, different tones, different genres, romance and thriller, why not have your name on both of them? Why not brand yourself as owning both of them? Are you just nervous about putting yourself out there under two different genres, your name on two totally different books? If so, maybe that's just something that you need to overcome. Maybe it's a good idea to brand yourself as, this is me, this is what I write. I enjoy branching out and trying new genres and trying new things. And I think you'll be surprised by how many of your fans just love everything that you write, and they want to read everything that you've written, even if it is outside of their genre zone. You know what I mean? Because they can tell. I mean, when you go to read the blurb of a book or look at and check it out online, you know what you're gonna know what genre it is. So bottom line, I think there are more pros than cons to brand yourself with your real name, or if you want to protect your identity, then choose a pen name that you like, but stick with that one name and focus on building a brand and building a loyal readership around you as an author, your books, because it's not just about the book. They're going to love you as the writer, and they're going to want to be there for everything that you put out. And if it's any consolation, I plan to write a lot of various genres in the future. Some of them I probably won't be that into, but I still will do it because it's fun, it's an adventure, and I think it's good to be bold and put yourself out there and try new things. I think people will respect you for that. Last question is from Bella. Hey Abbie, can you please explain how to write great best friend characters, or maybe a hate to best friend, if you know what I mean. Basically hate to love, but platonic and friendship only. Is it obvious that I'm obsessed with warm, wholesome friendships, preferably with hugging? #Italian. I love warm, wholesome friendships, and I think the world needs more books with warm, wholesome friendships. But you're right, basically it is the same as enemies to lovers and that transformation, but without any romantic elements, obviously. I saw a great Tumblr post one time that was like, enemies to lovers is really enemies to resentful allies in a time of crisis, to grudging mutual respect, to growing fondness concealed by snark, to hurtful betrayal, to slow reconciliation with a greater understanding of each other, to strange but solid friendship, to unexpected feelings in a time of crisis. And you can basically stop there with a realization of like, oh my God, this person is my best friend. I would literally die for them. And boom, you have a great enemies to best friends transformation arc. And actually near-death experiences are great catalysts for this kind of realization. So of course, just like with hate to love romance, you want to first establish why these characters dislike each other. What do they hate about each other? Was it just hate at first sight, or was it something deeper, something about their relationships, and maybe some backstory angst that can be included to give us some foundation for understanding these characters and sympathizing with them both, even though they don't sympathize with each other. Then, of course, you want to make sure the reader knows why and how the characters have changed their minds about each other. That's very important. But you can basically use the same like formula for enemies to lovers and just take out any romantic elements of it. And I made a whole video on that, by the way, if you haven't seen that one. Okay, boom, that's it. Awesome questions, as always. Thank you for asking them. Hopefully my answers were valuable to you. If you would like to ask a question for Ask Abbie, you know what to do. Hit the join button below this video or go to patreon.com/AbbieEmmons and get yourself inside the Facebook group. We have a lot of fun there. You can post your question there. Make sure you hashtag it Ask Abbie, and perhaps I will answer it next time. Smash that like button if you liked this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I post writing videos and publishing videos every single Wednesday, and I would love to have you here inside the community. Until next week, my friend, rock on.